Hey guys, SeanB. Today let's talk about speed team for the Punisher Crypt Abyss Heart. So this is the team I've been using today and it has been going well so far. 1 or 2 losses per 30 run, which is pretty standard nowadays for speed team because you usually rely on a single defense breaker, and if the defense breaker miss, then your team is pretty much dead. But this dungeon in particular requires you to not only have a defense breaker, you also need a slow debuff unit and you need the damage dealer to one-shot the boss for it to be pretty fast. So because there are multiple requirements for you to land on the boss, the chance to fail is also a bit higher. So this team will have a Julie that will not one-shot the wave because we're not all Satiazer or Bubble. We have runes that normal human can farm, so your Julie will leave some crystal at very low HP. Good thing is, Nickle can actually AoE with perfect AI after Julie when you leave the crystal at very low HP, and Nickle will destroy the crystal so that in the boss stage, Nickle will actually not use his skill but use this skill 1 all the time. And if you have a defense breaker like Prilea, probably one of the best defense breaker in the game right now for dungeon, then Nickle can actually put slow debuff on the boss with the skill 1. But because this is not a multi-hit skill and your 15% chance to fail is a bit shaky the moment he missed the slow debuff. But the good thing is there's also a small chance that the boss will actually AoE attack in the first turn and you have another small chance to land a slow debuff with your passive. I wish they make this 100%. That'd be so much better. And after the boss received the slow and the defense break, you will need Eirgar to buff attack buff and provide even more debuff. This will also serve as a secondary slow debuff on the boss and multiple other debuffs so that Brandia can actually one-shot the boss. But the problem with Eirgar is that 90% of the time he will skill 3 and maybe another 70% of the time he will skill 2. There's a small chance that he skill 3 into skill 1. There's a small chance that he doesn't skill 3 at all. He just go for skill 2. There's also another small chance that he will skill 1 and does absolutely nothing. And lastly, you have a Brandia that can one-shot the boss with either attack buff and 2 debuff on the boss or 4 debuff on the boss without any attack buff. If you have attack buff and a lot of debuff on the boss, you can one-shot the boss very easily. But most of the time, you will have attack buff and maybe 2 debuff on the boss or no attack buff and many debuff on the boss. But the problem with Brandia is that even though the AI is pretty good if you have debuff on the boss, if you have 3 or less debuff, there's a chance that she will not use this skill but skill 2 instead, and you will hit the left crystal, and then the crystal will gain attack bar, and then your runs will be very shaky after that. You will need 4 debuff on the boss to make sure that she uses skill all the time. So with all that small chances of bad thing happening in between, the team is not 100%, but it's still okay for the most part. So the first turn belongs to Julie. You will do decent amount of damage. This is the Julie I use for my Dragons team, so I don't want to change the Julie rune to make hit even harder. I can, but then I'm still very far away from finishing off the crystal, so it's really not worth it to try to build a Julie that can one-shot a crystal for most people. But almost killing a crystal is pretty much more possible. So in the boss stage, if you miss defense break, you might as well lose. But this is the most perfect run, okay? You land a slow, Eirgar do the buff and the debuff, and then Brandia one shot. And if the AI is perfect like this every single time, you can run a crow without Brandia, no problem. The crow will do more than enough damage if your run is that perfect. But because we are playing game from Comters where AI is not gonna end the war, so they're pretty much stupid most of the time. So the damage of crow is way much less compared to Brandia. So using a crow is possible, but your crow needs to be like insane. Like your rune have to be, I don't understand. I saw a screenshot. The crow has to be like plus 2k attack. As you can see, we have debuff, but Brandia chose to not do it. And then the crow to had like 2k attack and like 250 crit damage with decent amount of speed as well. It is just very impossible. But with Brandia, the condition is not as hard, and even if you miss the killing shot on the boss, it is still gonna be okay. So usually I'll get like 1 or 2 losses per 30 runs, but in general the run can be quite fast. And if I run the other team, it will be 40 seconds. And somehow the save team version also fail once in a while, which is kind of weird. So I might as well run the speed team version if I can do it. I can make the Brandia even stronger. And I think that's going to be safer because most of the time I will get the slow debuff, but I don't get the other debuff because he will choose a skill 1 or you get resisted in between. The threshold will be you need to be able to one-shot the boss with as little setup as possible on Brandia, and the run will be very smooth. I think the stat I have on all of my unit here are pretty much the bare minimum you need for this team to work fine. As you can see, if we don't skill 3, then it's kind of shaky once again. And then it is just as fast as a normal team. So let's say this is a crow that maybe you guys can build. I'm sure a lot of you guys be like, Sean, what are you talking about? My rage rune is absolutely garbage. So let's say that is like an average looking crow, okay? Is it gonna be okay to use? Of course it will, if you land all your stuff. But this is Summoner's War. Watch. It will either fail very, very badly or it'll be a perfect run. So you go in, you defense break, you slow debuff. If you get like 3 debuff on the boss, I strongly believe you can probably kill the boss. Here comes the debuff. So we get 4 debuff, easily one-shot the boss. So if they somehow buff Eirgar AI in the next patch, we can ditch Brandia. Okay? Because I will accept that maybe Nickle will miss a slow debuff sometime. Maybe Prilea will miss a defense break sometime. That's totally fine. But if they buff Eirgar AI in this dungeon, please. They have done that for many other dungeons already. If only they buff Eirgar AI for dungeon, then Crow will be very usable and this team will be a fully free-to-play sort of speed team for Punisher, Crypt, Abyss Heart with reasonable rune requirement. Because the version where you have Julie one-shotting is just way too insane. This is much more doable. I've tried using the water douse him as well for killing the boss, but then there's a small chance that the boss will AoE attack and touch the water douse him, and that will take away his passive, unfortunately, because even though most of the time the boss will attack the dark unit and you can have Eirgar right there to tank the hit, but if the boss AoE attack, the water douse him passive will get cut and he will not be able to do a lot of damage. And he also has the problem that if he use skill 1 twice, then you won't have enough damage, then the speedrun will kind of fail as well. I've also tried other debuff scaling damage dealer like, let's say, the Wind Vampire, but he doesn't do as much damage compared to Crow. Crow is pretty much the second best option compared to Brandia if you want to do like debuff, scaling, damage dealer. But Brandia is just way too good because of the extra damage she can do when the unit that she's targeting is immune to stun. Like here, look at that. If Eirgar just do the thing every turn, it'll be such an much easier to build team, even though you still need very decent rune requirement for these units to work. I've also tried exploring other options that can provide debuff and not relying on Eirgar AI, like let's say adding a Silver into your team. He can do the same thing that Nickle can do, and he can also provide an extra heal block in the debuff. And because it is a passive, I don't have to worry about AI. I think there are options like the Wind Vampire or the Wind Ninetail Fox, but you still have to rely on the AI to actually use a skill 3, which is quite a problem. But if you use a unit that does debuff via passive, then maybe you can ditch Eirgar and have a true better AI speed team. But there's a problem. You will need your Brandia to hit like an absolute monster truck to be able to do the damage that you need with only 3 debuff and no attack buff and less attack leader skill. So it is possible, but until I can find maybe another debuff from the passive or maybe branding even better, let's say Jara is a real unit and not like a fake amalgamation combination of just weird things put together, then I think it is a possible thing. If you can ditch Eirgar for a unit that can provide 2 more debuff with a very good consistency. Like if they make Zhongfei have perfect AI when he see a debuff in front of him and always use skill 3, this can be a very good possibility to add in the team. And I wish one day we have a better option than Eirgar, because or they just buff Eirgar AI, that works too. And yeah, that'll be the better speed team that I hope to build. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any other speed team, let me know in the comment section down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.